Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Cox, and I'm the host of the New America Movement right here in South Carolina. I have my co-host with me, Jordan Cox. Jordan, say hello.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
We've been doing this for about 2 years now. We're having a great time, and we're just excited about all the great things that are happening around the country because the House now is red, and that's good. We hope these guys will go to work and defend our freedoms once again. We've been through a lot the last several years, but now it's time to play catch up and move the ball forward for the American people. So you conservatives out there, get ready. I'm looking for some good things to happen over this year, next couple years. We'll see what happens, but I'm looking for a positive outcome. I know we've got some good leadership in Washington, and we hope they're going to do the right thing, secure our wall, balance our budget, defend our freedoms. And we could just go on and on and on. But I want to take a moment here and talk about some local politics, state politics, right here in South Carolina. And I have the great newly elected Thomas Beach. Thomas, say hello.
Howdy, folks. How you doing?
He is the representative for District 10, correct?
That's correct. The district covers parts of Anderson County, Greenville County, and Pickens County.
You are a newlywed in Columbia, correct?
That's right. I'm the new guy in Columbia.
Okay, and you've already come out of the gate swinging. And I know you're conservative, but now you've started something interesting. It's not controversial in South Carolina, but around the country, it's extremely controversial. And that is the issue of the transgender community. And a lot of people here in South Carolina know that this is somewhat of a threat to the stability of children here in America and in South Carolina. And you have written a bill, and I think the premises of this bill is to protect children. Tell us about that bill.
Well, first, let me thank you, good sir, Mr. Cox, for allowing me to be on your show. I've seen other episodes, and talking about a conservative, bare-knuckled fighter. I'm just so thrilled to be here with you, and I really thank you for all the things that you've done and leading the charge. And so in Columbia, I'm representing you and other families that we share our same values. So first, thank you for letting me be here. But for folks at home that never heard of me or seen me, my name is Thomas Beach, family man, local realtor, born-again Christian, conservative Republican, Army veteran. I'm a member of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, the South Carolina Family Caucus, and I sit on the committee for medical, military, and municipalities. And just to kind of give a backstory to answer your question, I'm newly elected because there was a time when we were debating about banning transgender athletes in girls' sports, and I have a daughter that enjoyed sports, and my representative was presenting legislation that would chemically castrate boys as young as 10 years old so that they could play in girls' sports. And I wanted to give the citizens a conservative option. So my fight started there. And then we started seeing these very explicit drag queen shows across the country, but in North Charleston and Clemson. And so there needs to be a line to be drawn because this is an assault on our children's innocence. That's why I drafted this bill. I believe that we're free people, free-willed, and some people make that choice to have that lifestyle, and that's their right to do so. But where I draw the line is when minors are involved, because a lot of these drag queen shows, they are very, very explicit, highly sexualized, a lot of nudity and sexual acts are involved. So this is why the bill was drawn up.
Excellent, excellent. So let me introduce another gentleman here on our show today. It's the great Corey Allen from Charleston, South Carolina, and he does the Overton Report. Corey, hello. How are you doing today?
Hey, man, it's really great to be here. First off, I want to say thank you guys for what you do. Thomas, thank you so much for putting yourself at the forefront of this fight.
Absolutely.
I know that it's hard. I mean, the hate mail I've gotten, actually just today, my mother received emails and messages because I had the audacity to go and protest when this was held for children. This Christmas drag show was held for children in North Charleston, and I had the audacity to show up and say, "Hey guys, this is wrong." Now I'm getting my mother telling me that they're coming after her. This is real stuff, and it's very difficult to stand up and put yourself out there. And I appreciate you doing that for the people of your district and your state, Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Jordan, weigh in on this. What you think?
First of all, thank you both for being here. Y'all two are very, very successful in what y'all do, and there's a reason for that. Y'all don't give up on your principles. Y'all don't sacrifice your principles. When y'all see something wrong, you act. That's all we ask for elected officials. That's all we ask for anybody that does anything is just, hey, don't sacrifice your principles. This drag show that Corey was talking about in North Charleston, me and him talked about it before and everything while it was going on. He protested it, I believe, and everything. And it's one of these things where if you are an adult and you want to go, that's fine. You're an adult. But when you bring kids in here,
sex with my father's boss in my father's office.
and like Thomas said, there's a lot of nudity in here. And there is. It's a lot of sexual stuff and a lot of nudity. They'll pull their skirts up. They'll do all of these things in front of a kid's face. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, or just 5 or 6 years ago, you'd be a pedophile for doing that. And now all of a sudden you're not. So this bill now is so good because it's going to make these places that are holding these drag shows, it's going to stop it at federal buildings. And if I'm not mistaken, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, if you do allow it, if you do allow the drag shows, then you got to say, hey, we're okay with sexual stuff being done in our facilities. Am I right or wrong about that?
Corey, weigh in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you made an interesting point there, Jordan. You said that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that something like this, if it was done, would be looked at with a skeptical eye. It would be disallowed. Well, the fact of the matter is that there are already laws on the books that disallow this type of thing from happening when it comes to children. Okay? But the point that we've reached in our society is when these things happen, that we all agree, if it was a straight man wearing a male thong and simulating sex on a straight woman on stage in a government-owned facility, or a legitimate, literal woman stripping and showing her breasts on stage, children would already not be allowed at that show. We agree with that.
Absolutely.
Every person agrees with that. What has actually happened, and this is why this bill is so important, what has happened is when these things are done under the banner of the LGBTQIA++2 banner,
Divided by 3.
they get they get to fly under that radar. When they're done under the banner of inclusivity, the police are afraid to act. The solicitors of the town or the county or the district are afraid to prosecute.
Have your drag show, but do not include children in your fetishes. This is not child appropriate. Let's stop pretending that it's okay to expose children to this.
The parents who decide to take their children to these shows would be arrested if they took their children to a strip club. But when they bring their children to a place where men who are pretending to be women are stripping, Well, they're doing that under the banner of inclusivity, and that provides them an extra privilege. That's why the people have not been prosecuted when they should have been or would have otherwise been, because it's under the banner of inclusivity, whatever that means. We've actually seen that happen. You have drag queen brunches. You have children dressing up as drag queens and having people hand them money. On the streets of Columbia, South Carolina, you have drag queens bringing children on stage and people handing those children and that drag queen dollar bills on stage.
So a drag queen in Colombia is on Libs of TikTok, dancing with a little girl, teaching her to grab money. You know who else was at this famously hot Pride Festival? Democrat candidate for school board, Lisa Ellis. This is what you want for the children of South Carolina.
And nothing happens to them. But if that person were a straight man or a straight woman, they would have already been arrested. The only reason there's even a question is because they are under the LGBTQIA2+ banner.
I want to make a list for the public, just if we could do it, post it when we air the show. What are things that minors cannot do that would be considered against the law? I know that you could not take a child into a nightclub. Am I correct?
You can't take them into an R-rated movie unless they have an adult.
An
they can't
R-rated
go in there
movie?
by themselves. Can't go to an NC-17 movie as a minor for dang sure.
Okay, what else can a kid or minor not do in America? Let's make a list of that.
Well, you can't drink alcohol. You can't smoke cigarettes. You can't, where it's legal at, you can't smoke pot. You can't drive. You can't do. I mean, there's a literal. You can't serve our country. You can't. I don't even think you can get a doggone library card. I mean, there are so many things that you have to be 18 or older to do. But like Corey said, it's inclusivity. It's all of this. It's all of this societal. This is how society is. So we're just gonna do it top stuff. And it's like, but these are kids. They're children. They're not adults. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we have to even write a bill to stop this from even happening. So it's crazy to me that we have to even present a bill, but we have to now because the society that we live in has gone so far to the left with all of these transgender movements, these drag shows, all of this stuff is so far to the left that now it's borderline just perverted.
You know, if you watch those videos, those public drag queen shows, and the performers are talking about sex acts and all sorts of things, and you know, demonstrating and talking about fisting, and then what really boils my blood is that they'll do audience participation and bring a child into the conversation and ask the child questions about these things, and you can hear the anguish in the child's voice, the awkwardness.
What's your favorite part?
No, I don't like this. I and there's not a single adult protecting that child from this.
Well, you know, here's the thing about inclusivity. All it means is that society should include all people, regardless of age, appropriation, color, race, creed.
The notion that it's wrong even with a 1-year-old is not quite obvious to me. Imagine that an adult male wants to have sex with a 12-year-old girl. Imagine that she's a willing participant. A very standard, very widely held view that there's something deeply wrong about this. It's not obvious to me that is in fact wrong. I think this is a mistake. So yeah, I guess I think, no, I don't think there's a blanket period beyond which this is permissible. There's just lots of activities that children engage in that they don't understand all that well. But no, I don't think it's blanket wrong at any age.
Man, listen, you're talking to a guy who for 25 years has been making arguments more or less in defense of adult-child sex in classrooms.
To be introduced to whatever society thinks you should be offered. In other words, it's just an inclusive clause. It just means that why should we exclude children from transgender events? But the argument of that is then if we should include children in transgender events, then we should do it on every other platform that we offer societal opportunities for, such as going in and buying a fifth of liquor. Why if that's the case, why can't a kid buy a fifth of liquor? Now, I know somebody's going to come and try to present some kind of common sense argument to that, but there's really not one. If you can go to a show and see transgenders and you can be exposed to the sexuality of that. Go ahead, Corey, jump in on it. Then Jordan, I'll go back to you.
First of all, we have to be very careful here. It's very important for the people at home, and especially conservatives who might not be acutely aware of this lifestyle. Trans and drag are two different things.
Yes.
The people who dress in drag are under no delusion as to whether or not they are men or women. Drag is men who take pleasure in dressing as women and performing as women for an audience. So that's, first of all, it's not a trans issue. Okay, we can discuss the delusions of trans ideology all day, but that's not this. When we talk about children, okay, and we talk, and this is actually the libertarian argument here, and this is an argument that we're going to be facing while trying to get this bill and others like it passed. We're going to be facing the libertarian argument, the false argument of choice. So let's discuss choice. Let's talk about a person choosing to do what they would like to do. There is nobody in this chat right here, the four of us, there are no legislators who have co-signed on this bill, the Defense of Children's Innocence Act. There are no conservatives that I have ever met who are sitting here saying that drag queens don't have a right to go and perform. What we're trying to say is something that American law, our constitutional republic, has reinforced through legal precedent and legislative bills repeatedly, that children lack the ability to consent to anything, whether or not it's drinking alcohol, whether or not it's smoking cigarettes or weed, whether or not it's having sex, especially whether or not it's having sex with somebody who is not a minor. When we're discussing video games, we have a rating system because children cannot legally consent to playing video games that have a rating of MA, right? Movies, we have ratings. Television shows, we have ratings. Why is it suddenly such a crazy, out-of-this-world concept to claim that we should have the same type of system when it comes to live performances and sexually explicit performances? We have never in this country's history said that the parents can harm their children just because of the concept of choice, the libertarian idea of choice. The question is, do parents have a right to do whatever they want with their children? The courts and the American system of governance has already proved that that precedent is set at no. Parents cannot do whatever they want to children.
Desmond is amazing.
Everyone can do drag.
Everyone can.
Your mom can do drag. What has this world come to? It's come to a world where drag kids actually exist.
And people do ketamine on a couch. And people do ketamine on a couch.
You don't get to do that. So I don't understand a good faith argument against this bill or bills like it. And really the people out there need to ask themselves, why are there leftists fighting so hard for the right to expose children to extremely graphic sexual performances? Why are they fighting so hard for that right?
I'm glad you brought that up, because the thing that I think the reason that they keep making this okay for kids is because they want these kids to grow up in a more progressive society, right? Like this is that's what it's progressive. It's progress, right? We don't need to treat kids like kids no more. They have a mind of their own. If they want to be this, they can be this.
But there's not a psychiatrist in America that would agree with that.
There's not
any psychiatrist worth his salt would say that kids cannot make logical choices. They're not at the age ability to do that. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, absolutely. And so by that, and by this social construct that the left has created, right, with the drag shows and hey, the family friendly drag shows, right? They even advertise this is family friendly drag shows, which means bring your kids. That's what that means. Bring your kids. And the reason they do that is because they want these kids to grow up and realize, hey, I'm gonna vote Democrat. You know why? Because I can do this. If I can't be, I'm not a conservative, I'm not a Republican because they don't agree with it. It's to me, and I could be, but to me, they are grooming kids for votes. And they're using them and their health, and I say health because I know drag and transgender are two different things, but they kind of have some similarities whenever you got a dude dressing up as a girl for a 4-year-old. That's very hard to distinguish. Is that a drag person or is that a transgender person? So for their health, their mental health, all of this, why are you succumbing your kids to this? And it's all, to me, it's all for votes from the left, like the politicians and everything, and the parents that are doing this, the actual parents that are allowing this to happen to their kids. They are just wanting to do whatever it is.
I want to add one little thing about their health. I saw a study on the medicine, the Library of Medicine, and you can look this up on youth suicide. For children, the suicide rate is 40%, and 80% contemplate suicide. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so, not only is it
transgender issues,
when it comes to transgender, but to Brandon's point, a child isn't going to be able to discern, the difference between the two. And the main issue, the heart of the issue of this bill is to protect children.
Yeah, and I love that. So real quick, Thomas, what exactly is this bill going to do? Like, if it passes and everything goes our way, what will this bill do in South Carolina?
Before I answer that, let me make sure that we all understand this. Like I said at the very beginning, we're a free country, free individuals, free will. So when I drafted the bill, I was very concerned about affecting Shakespeare in the Park. But I was also worried about preventing grown adults making their own decision of choosing that kind of lifestyle and doing that sort
because
of activity.
They can. They're adults.
Yeah, and so the the bill, how it's written, there's a very, very important word. It's and. This is the linchpin. So if you do this activity in public and there's a minor involved, then you have crossed the line, and then you're going to suffer some consequences. So we're trying to protect kids, but if you're a business, the law is written that the bill's written that, you know, if you're going to host these events and have children in these venues, then your business is now going to be treated like a sex shop or a strip joint.
So if you're a restaurant and you hold one of these events, you will then be under the guise of like sexual exploitation. It's just like a sex shop would be.
Yes. Yeah. The local ordinances would, now label
that.
you as, an explicit
I love that.
place of business, and you will fall underneath that.
When it comes to that bit of the bill, the sexually oriented business aspect of the bill, this actually is probably one of the most important distinctions that's written in this bill. This allows home rule, which is such a big thing in South Carolina, to still reign supreme, but it still protects children. Because obviously you don't want to have a restaurant downtown that decides to hold drag shows that are sexually explicit and allow children into them. That's the entire goal of this bill.
Oh, and on top of that, the bill, if you're having a showing of a movie, To Wong Fu, Thank You for Everything, or just a tongue-in-cheek drag queen show for the for a fundraising event, something like that, under this bill you're fine. It's the word but once you start getting explicit sexually, showing nudity, genitalia, sexual acts and things to that nature, then you've gone too far. It is illegal. But there's a lot of drag queen shows which is just an all in good fun. It's for adults. It's not explicit, and under this law, those activities are fine.
And I love how y'all keep saying this bill is for the kids. This is for the kids. This is for children, because I feel like this country is just trying their best to get this administration, I should say, is trying to get their grips on kids of America, trying to get their grips onto the children of America and say, look, this is how you should be thinking. This is how this is what's going to be next. You need to get on board with it. You need to go do it. And so it's good to have somebody and people in general just standing up and saying no more. I'm not going to stand for this. Just like you said during the drag shows, they bring kids up and talk about sexual things with these kids, like whether or not they want lubes and stuff like that. I mean, it goes on, and that will come to a halt if this bill is passed. And I love that. I love how you said that the key word is and, because you're separating adults from children, which is what for some reason the Biden administration and liberals across the country can't do. They can't separate children from adults, and this bill will do that.
Absolutely. You're right, Jordan. Well, it comes down to one simple fact. We have to protect children in this country because we see that so many leftists just think that they're a target, and the obvious reason why they're a target is they're grooming them for future votes for the Democratic Party, for leftist thinking. All things center around money and power. You're going to find very few things in this country that are politicized that have anything to do with the real issue. It's always a way, how do we grow our party? How do we stay in control? And how can we make sure that we have long-term longevity in what we're trying to accomplish? So, Corey, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to sign off. Then I'm going to go to Thomas. Go ahead. Give me 2 minutes real quick.
Absolutely. I think that we're facing enemies on two sides of this issue. On the one side, we have people that are misrepresenting the argument against us and saying that people can choose whatever they want to choose to do. That's a misrepresentation because we all agree adults can choose to do whatever they want to do. But when it comes to exposing a child to this, DSS exists, right? Child Protective
Facts.
Services exists. There are things that adults do to children that are not allowed. There's a long precedent of that, a long-standing precedent, and this follows that path directly and in a very great and gracious way, I believe. The other issue that I have is the left, who say children should be exposed to this. And to that, I just laugh in the face of it, because those are the same people who would say that if you teach a child how to pray, you're a bad person, right? Like in school, for example. So that type of mental gymnastics, I'm just not, whatever. The question is, do parents have a right to do whatever they want with their children? The precedent states no. This is a situation where the state has a right to say, if you are sexually harming a child by exposing them to sexually explicit drag shows, sexually explicit being the performative and the key word there, sexually explicit, as specifically defined in this bill, then no, you do not have a right to expose them to that. And I want to say that to the left, who says that this is about personal choice, this is not personal choice, because children do not have the ability nor the wherewithal to consent to sexual issues, and this is a sexual issue. Therefore, it's not a concept of personal choice, because you're talking about adults choosing on behalf of children. I want to ask Thomas Beach. Thomas, how many co-sponsors have you gotten since this story broke about this bill being released? And what can we all do to help you get more co-sponsors and get this bill to pass?
The bill has been just recently drafted, and I think a lot of lawmakers are not even aware of its existence. Not yet. It's getting close there. This next week, the lawmaker, the body will hear about it and know about it. But currently, I would say, I think 7 co-sponsors at this point, but I'm sure there's going to be more to come. January 10th is when we start our first session.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's great. I'm really glad that you had the guts to stand up and write this bill. Like Corey said, he's getting a lot of heat from it. I'm sure you probably will get some backlash from it from somebody. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for standing up for our kids and protecting them here in South Carolina, for real.
I want to add one little thing. Representative Leber from the Low Country was instrumental. I was trying to do this by myself, drafting it up, trying to raise a family, trying to run a business, and he came in and said, "Hey, let me help you, Thomas." And so shout out to Representative Leber, because he put his eyeballs on the draft and really helped with the final draft on it. And so Matt Leber, thank you much.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew Leber, for real.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Corey, always good to hear from you. You're doing a great job there in Charleston. Thomas, it's good to have you on our show again today. We appreciate the great work you're doing in Columbia. You're just getting out the gate, so you've got a long way to go in a career in this, and we just hope that you'll have a great time at State House. I'm sure there's a lot of great things you'll be able to do in that community. Jordan, thank you again for helping me co-host the show. And folks, this is the New America Movement. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. God bless you, and have a great day.